Okay, think about this for a second. When I say dangerous, what activity pops into your head? Maybe skydiving.
Or even just driving in heavy traffic.
Yeah, exactly. And what about safe? What feels totally safe? Like maybe playing catch in the park.
A nice bike ride, maybe.
Right. But what if I told you that some of those things, those seemingly harmless activities, are actually, statistically speaking, more likely to get you injured than hunting?
Hmm.
Welcome to the deep dive. This is where we take source material, sort of sift through it, and pull out the key insights, the surprising stuff so you can get informed fast.
And today we've got a really interesting one.
We do. There's an article from Basecamp Leasing called Hunting is Safe, a look at hunting versus other activities.
Yeah.
And it uses stats a lot, apparently drawn from public safety data, the kind of Google's AI overview might pull together.
Right.
Our mission today, to really dig into this and see which common activities, maybe things you do all the time, actually carry a higher risk than hunting, statistically.
Yeah, it's a pretty bold claim right off the bat. The article basically says hunting is not dangerous.
Straight up.
Yeah, and it highlights that even with, handling weapons and climbing up high in tree stands, it's still considered a notably safe pastime.
Which I think for a lot of people sounds really counterintuitive, right? Given how hunting is sometimes shown or just our gut feeling about danger.
Definitely, we have these ingrained ideas.
Okay, so let's unpack this. The source jumps right into some comparisons that honestly kind of made me do a double take.
Yeah.
We're talking about activities most people love or just think are totally fine.
Like what?
Like baseball. America's pastime.
Oh, yeah. Apple pie, baseball.
Exactly. But the source says you're far more likely to lead to injury than hunting. It gives an injury rate per player hour, roughly 0.057 injuries per 100 player hours.
Huh. Okay.
And basketball, too. It's seen as, well, relatively safe, but actually results in a great number of injuries, something like 6 to 14 injuries per 1,000 player hours.
Wow, that's quite a range, but still significant.
Yeah. But maybe the wildest one on this first list is just traveling.
Traveling, like going on vacation.
Yep. The source calls it perhaps the most dangerous activity on this list. Get this. About 5% of travelers get injured or sick on a trip.
5%, so 1 out of every 20 people.
1 in 20. That's a lot.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? Our perception of danger often seems tied to dramatic events, not necessarily the cumulative risk of common things.
That's a great point.
With basketball, for example, just think about how many people play, how often they play. The sheer volume, the frequency, it adds up to more incidents overall, even if many are minor.
Right, more exposure.
And traveling is similar. New places, different food, unfamiliar surroundings. It all increases the chances of, well, something happening, whether it's tripping on uneven pavement or catching a bug.
Yeah, it shifts the focus from just accidents to general risk exposure.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not just the everyday stuff. The source also looks at other common activities, outdoor things, even some thrill sports,
Right.
like biking. We think of it as healthy, right? But the injury rate is around 163 per 100,000 people. And it affects both kids and experienced adult cyclists, too.
Okay. So higher than you might guess.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Then there's soccer, obviously a contact sport.
Sure.
Injury rates, there are somewhere between 4 and 35 injuries per 1,000 hours of play. Again, a wide range, but notable.
Yeah.
And hitting the slopes, skiing and snowboarding. The source calls them snow sports that are known for poor safety standards.
Ouch.
Skiing is about 2.5 injuries per 1,000 skier days. That affects like 600,000 people in the U.S. each year. Snowboarding's even higher, about 3.9 injuries per 1,000 visits.
It's really important to keep context in mind here, though. We're comparing everything back to the baseline injury rate for hunting, which the source implies is very low.
Right.
It's not saying don't ski or play soccer. It's more about recalibrating that relative sense of risk based on the data presented, considering the specific physical demands and environments.
Absolutely. Okay, now, this is where it gets really interesting, I think. The source moves into activities that most of us already think of as high risk.
Right, the stuff you'd expect to be way more dangerous.
Exactly. And yet, hunting still apparently comes out statistically lower risk in comparison. First up, dirt bikes.
Oh, yeah, those look intense.
The source calls dirt biking one of the most dangerous activities around. Injury rate. It says 95% of riders experience injuries.
95%? That's staggering.
It is. Then scuba diving, also called one of the most dangerous activities on this list.
Okay.
We're talking 7 to 35 injuries per 10,000 divers. And there's a fatality rate too, roughly 1 death per 200,000 dives.
So rare, but definitely a known risk.
Yeah. Flying aircraft gets mentioned too, but they make a key distinction.
Commercial versus private, I bet.
Exactly. Commercial flights are incredibly safe statistically, but amateur flying, measurably higher risks. Around 9.5 fatal accidents per million flight hours.
That's a significant difference.
Okay. And of course, American football. It's framed as one of the most dangerous sports in the world, a violent impact sport.
No argument there.
Injury rate is about 1.79 per 1,000 people, and it notes over 65% of NFL players get injured during a season.
Yeah, the attrition rate in pro football is notoriously high.
Then you have mountain climbing, rock climbing. Outdoor climbing is called a very dangerous hobby. Injury rates for sport climbers are somewhere between 30% and 50%.
Wow.
Even indoor climbing isn't risk-free, though it's much lower, about 0.01 to 0.03 injuries per 1,000 hours.
Still measurable.
Yep. Boating, called one of the most dangerous water activities, leads to about 2,100 reported injuries each year. Even bungee jumping, while the injury rate itself is low, carries that fatality risk about 1 in 500,000 jumps.
Still a sobering thought if you're the one.
Right. Caving, too, has a rate, 1 injury per roughly 1,190 hours.
Okay.
Had those big adrenaline air sports.
Yeah.
Hang gliding, paragliding, parachuting, all flagged for inherent dangers. Injury rates per flight are hang gliding 0.04%, paragliding 0.35%, parachuting 1.46%.
So parachuting is significantly riskier pre-jump than the others there.
Seems so. And finally, surfing. Injury rates vary. Recreational surfers see about 1.8 significant injuries per 1,000 hours, but for competitive surfers, it jumps to 6.6 per 1,000 hours.
That makes sense, pushing the limits more.
Right.
What's so fascinating here, really, is how this data clashes with our gut feelings about risk. We see something dramatic like dirt biking or maybe parachuting, and the potential consequences are so severe we automatically label it highly dangerous.
Yeah, you assume the frequency must match the severity.
Exactly. But this source suggests that if you look purely at the statistics, how often injuries or worse actually happen per hour or per participation, our intuition might be, well, kind of off. It really makes you question how we build that internal risker meter.
It totally does. Okay, so after all that comparison, the source does address the true dangers of hunting. It's not saying there are zero risks.
Of course not. No activity is completely risk-free.
Right. It acknowledges things like falls from tree stands, weapons accidents, and other accidents can occur.
Which seems obvious.
But then it immediately follows up by stressing these have extremely low odds of occurrence.
Okay, so acknowledging the hazard, but emphasizing the low probability.
Precisely. And then comes, I think, the most powerful statement in the whole piece. It says the injury rate for hunting is so low that a percentage isn't delivered when prompted to produce one.
Wow. So low it doesn't even register a standard percentage rate in their data polls.
Apparently so. That really says something about its relative safety when compared to all those other activities we just listed.
It does.
And the article doesn't just say it's safe, it points to why. It mentions safety protocols, like the ABCs of tree stand safety from the Tree Stand Safety Awareness Foundation.
Ah, practical advice. What are the ABCs?
A is always remove and inspect equipment. B is buckle full body harness securely. And C is connect to the tree before your feet leave the ground.
Simple, clear rules. Makes sense that following procedures drastically cuts risk.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And maybe as a final point on the perceived risk versus reality, the source mentions that Basecamp Leasing actually includes a $5 million liability policy with their lease agreements.
Huh. To reassure landowners and hunters.
Yeah, to put the minds of hunters and landowners at ease. It kind of underscores their confidence in the low likelihood of incidents when things are done right.
You know, this raises a really important point. If the data shows hunting is statistically this safe, especially compared to, say, basketball or even just traveling,
Yeah.
it really speaks volumes about the effectiveness of safety training, regulations, and just responsible behavior within that community, doesn't it?
That's a great way to put it.
It reinforces that while, yes, potential hazards exist everywhere, the actual risk is often heavily influenced by how we approach the activity. The data seems to show hunting, when done properly, is managed very effectively from a safety standpoint compared to many other things.
So after digging through all this, what's the big takeaway for you, the listener? I think it's this surprisingly stark statistical picture. Hunting, despite what you might assume, appears to be generally safer than a whole lot of common, everyday activity.
Right. Things we do without really thinking twice about the risk involved.
It definitely forces a rethink of what risky actually means, moving beyond just perception to look at the numbers.
And maybe that's the final thought to leave you with. How often do we let data challenge our gut feelings about risk? Think about your own life, your hobbies, even your daily routine.
Hmm.
How do you decide what's dangerous and what's safe? Is it based on headlines and dramatic stories? Or do you ever dig into the actual statistics? This deep dive really highlights how sometimes the numbers tell a very different story.
A really different story.
Mm.
Maybe next time you hear about an activity being dangerous, the first question should be,
Compared to what?
exactly, compared to what? Thanks for joining us for this deep dive exploring risk through a, well, pretty surprising lens today.